What is up, everybody? I am Aslan Hajavandi, joined by managing editor of Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source, Ira SHEFFIELD. Use that promo code at the bottom of your screen to join our website, maybe even subscribe to our YouTube page, but definitely you all can hit the thumbs up button. That's a very easy task. Ira, hey man, it's football time. Thanks for inviting me out here to talk about the team. We're doing position previews as we like to get everything kind of the table set for the upcoming season. We're going to talk offense. We're going to talk about, I guess, maybe the segment that perhaps is the most, I don't know, somebody would say maybe the most talented, at least going into the season 2021, but with all the crazy recruiting and transfers, that could be up for debate. But just how impactful was the running game for this offense and the blips of success that we saw in 2020? How much of it was this running game really kind of helping pull everything up when it comes to this offense being productive last season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was probably the most improvement. It's definitely the most improvement on offense. I think the passing game took a step backwards. The receivers, I think, took a step backwards from the year before, but the running game took a big step forward. Part of that was because Jordan Travis, his emergence is a not every game starter because he wasn't always healthy, but ended up being the leading rusher on the team, a dynamic runner, probably the most athletic, one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the country. So that was a big part of it. But also Jashaun Corbin, who transferred in from Texas A&M. Really kind of got better and better as the year went on. LaDamian Webb, who's no longer here, had a pretty solid first season, a junior college transfer. And then you had Lawrance Toafili, the freshman from St. Pete, who had a really impressive first season. He didn't play a ton, but when he did, it was really impressive, averaged over 9 yards a carry. So that group, combined with an improved offensive line, there weren't a lot of highlights for that offense in 2020, but that running game definitely was it.
This is a crazy stat that's up in the story right now. That'll be up on warchant.com, Ira. Just basically, they averaged 3.8 yards per carry in 2019 and then 5.1 last season, which, you talk about a game of inches. We're talking yards, plural, in terms of the adjustment there that they made on the positive side of things. I know Jordan Travis probably maybe – I would know Jordan Travis gets most of the credit for that, at least when it comes to the fan base. I'm really bullish on this offensive line, man. I think this offensive line did considerably better in 2020, and that's what led to this offense, at least a running attack, being that much more effective. In terms of success on the pie chart, I mean, who do you divvy it up to?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, you don't want to shortchange the offensive line because they did make a lot of improvement. You talk about the way they didn't give up the massive sacks. That's the big thing. In college football, obviously, sacks play into that rushing number, and that's why you can go from having Cam Akers, who ends up being a starting running back in the NFL, and actually improving as a running game. But a lot of it is because they didn't take as many sacks. They didn't take as many big sacks. The year before with Hornibrook, and I mean, Hornibrook got sacked by Miami like 10 times, 9 or 10 times in one game. James was pretty much a statue as well. So Jordan's ability to scramble was big. And then obviously his ability to run and move the change was a big part of it all as well. But you can't shortchange the offensive line. I think you're right. They did improve. I wouldn't say they were road graders by any stretch, but they at least, you didn't see guys just running for their life. How many times did Cam Akers, we don't have this, I don't have the stat in front of me, but how many yards did Cam Akers have to get after contact? Because as soon as he got the ball, he was having to break tackles and elude guys in the backfield. So that's a big difference. They may not have pushed the pile always, but at least they didn't give up to just the lookout blocks. So that was a big improvement, and all those guys are coming back. And, so that's a positive, and most of the running backs are coming back, plus you bring in a couple newcomers. So, I think there's reason to be excited. What we don't know, though, I guess we might find out if Mackenzie Milton wins the starting job, and we'll see how it goes this spring. We'll really get a feel for how important Jordan Travis was, because Mackenzie's athletic and mobile when he's healthy, but he's no Jordan Travis. So, that's going to give us probably a better idea when somebody else is a quarterback of how much improvement that offensive line has really made.
I think the offense is obviously something that this staff wants to keep balanced. I think it's going to be a pass. I don't want to say pass heavy, but I think passing is what they're going to do best, despite the fact that maybe they don't have the most talented, dynamic wide receivers. You probably would feel better about the running backs that we see here on the screen than you would about the wide receivers they have right now. But I just believe in, I guess, Mackenzie Milton. I believe in this staff to get the ball into their playmakers' hands. But Corbin came on late last season, but I think everybody's really excited about Toafili's potential. I would think maybe his ceiling's a little bit higher than Corbin's. But for me personally, though, I don't know if Corbin's going to grow and build off what he did at the end of last season. A lot of people seem to think that he closed out 2020 on a high note. Man, he's got a role, I think. He can get you tough yards, 3rd and 2, 4th and 1. We saw him. I've been talking about the offensive line here a few minutes ago about how great they did. Man, a lot of those 4th and 1s, 3rd and 2s that were converted was Jashaun Corbin being a grown man. So maybe, I don't see Dalvin Cook or Cam Akers on the screen right there, but I think that's good enough if McKenzie Milton and this passing offense can hold up their end of the bargain. Do you think Corbin, what he ended 2020, we're going to see that kind of a springboard into 2021?
I do, just because I think he's got a very legitimate excuse. I mean, he's coming back from just a brutal hamstring injury. From what we heard, the hamstring injury he sustained when he was at Texas A&M was awful. I mean, the hamstring really kind of being torn from the bone. And so it took a long time for him to kind of, he was healthy. He was cleared to play last season, but it takes, and you made the point, last season about a lot of those guys coming back from injuries, that maybe it's going to take longer than we expected, more than just one season. In the case of Hamza Nasruddin, which was correct, Keyshawn Helton, I think that seems to be the case. He did not have a very good year his first year back from injury. Jaden Lars-Woodby didn't have a very productive year. Whether or not that's him or the injury, we don't know. But, so maybe as that year went on, it seemed like Jashaun got more comfortable. In the last 4 games, he rushed for over 60 yards in 3 of those games. And 60 yards doesn't sound like a ton, but it's on 10 carries, 10 or 12 carries. He had over 60 yards in 3 of those 4 games, over 70, I think, in 2. In the first 4 games, he only went over 60 yards, I believe, 1 time. So he definitely improved as the year went on. But Lawrance Toafili is really the big question about that whole season, because he in 4 games he played, he looked like a superstar, but in the other 4 games he barely was even used. So that was always, whether he was injured or what it was, that's always going to be something that people have to question.
Yeah. It's great, though, to sit here and talk about football, look at the position previews, at least on the offensive side. And, this program has been just flush with running backs. And maybe, obviously, Dalvin Cook, Cam Akers don't exist right now in that sort of shape and form on this roster. But plenty of guys, plenty of options. And we never know what's going to happen with maybe Jordan Travis. If he does win the job, that adds a whole different element. But to sit here and think about that, running back is not slam dunk your best offensive sort of segment, which I don't know. Maybe you think it is. I don't personally, but I think that pertains to a good offense in 2021, because there's some talent right there. But I think there's other positions, there's other segments on the offense that are rife with more talent and deeper. So it makes me excited to think about 2021. This is the first in a series of previews, though, Ira. But anything else to add on the offense there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, and on that list was returning guys. So DJ Williams, the Auburn transfer, is not on there. He's another guy that's more of a between the tackles kind of physical runner. So I think, again, it's a good mix. I don't know that I just think the running back group could be a solid backbone of this offense, especially I think David Johnson does a really good job with them. So I think this can be a solid group. But spring football starts. I think the tentative start date is March 9th. So here we are. We're about three plus weeks away. And we'll have these previews cranking up over that time to get us ready for spring football.
Awesome, man. He's Ira Schoffel, managing editor of Warchant.com. I'm Aslan Hajavani, director of digital media. Thanks for watching. Stay connected to Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminoles sports source.